Rolling. Right. Hello everybody and welcome back to the Hot Air Show. I'm Lloyd.
I'm Tony.
And the usual suspects really. Nice to be back again.
Chickens now though.
We've had a little bit of a break for about a month, haven't we? Yeah. So the last show you saw was the
Rossi Morales special, really.
Yeah, that sort of went down.
We loved it. It was great.
We absolutely enjoyed it, but like not everybody loved it.
We saw a few comments, but you know, some people comment, some people don't. Maybe the people who loved it didn't.
I think the background. You probably noticed that there is no background music, and that's because you guys weren't over keen on it.
But we have it just in case.
Yeah.
We may have to switch it on as the show goes on.
It was it was a sort of almost a shame that the background music did sort of
we're not used to that.
No, we're not used to it, and a lot of comments from the guys were, "Do not do that ever again." And
I think it woke them up. I think that's the problem.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
I got told at the show I just done, somebody said, "Oh, you don't know this, Tony, but I go to bed with you every night." So I'm obviously the thing that puts him to sleep, our show. So now we know we've got a role in life.
Counting sheep.
We are the sheep.
Yeah. Anyway, for everybody that watched the American Airgun TV show, it wasn't for everybody. We loved doing it. We absolutely loved the crew coming across, didn't we? We had a lot of fun. And do you know what? Whether you like the way that the Americans do things or not, you know what? I've got to hand it to them, and I'm sure you feel the same. Is that they are doing a great job at promoting airguns in their own country. They were
sincere. They were honest. It was really nice spending time with them.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. So, you know, we might not do that format again ever. You guys have spoken. We've listened. You know, we're going to stick to the same formula. So you're not going to hear any annoying tinkling music or weird sound effects.
Or will you?
We'll see. We'll see. Yeah. Anyway, but it's been a month, hasn't it?
Yes,
it's been a month. So what have you been doing over the last month?
Well, a little bit of this, little bit of that. I've been helping out on a pest control course for a company called Killgem. They run professional pest control courses, and the course I help out is actually a bird pest control course, which is kind of topical at the moment, isn't it?
Just
We're doing this for a little while now, actually. They're great fun. You meet some nice people. This is professional pest controllers who go on a course paid for by their company, and they spend a day learning about what type of birds can be shot, what are the conditions, what are the licensing conditions. And of course, right in the middle of me running one course and before I ran another one, lo and behold, the general licensing saga, shall we call it, kicked in. So I was right there to ask the right questions at the right time with the right people. So I have a few. I probably haven't got all the answers because I don't think anybody does. But I certainly have a flavour for what happens. So maybe we can go through that.
Yeah. Well, do you want to come back to that?
We'll come back to that.
Yeah. Well, maybe do a little sort of 10-minute slot on it later on. And so obviously, if you're not interested, you can just forward it. But I think most people.
They want to know about
very interested in what's been going on with
natural England and the forms and what's happened.
There you go.
Okay, so a little bit on that.
Hopefully, if you're not familiar with what's going on,
sleep. Yeah,
that's the way to promote the show, isn't it? Come back later, we'll send you to sleep. But anyway, we'll come back to that, and I'm sure that's going to be of interest to a lot of people because it seems that either you haven't got any idea about what's going on at all. Or you've heard all about it and are still confused.
And there's an awful lot of misinformation going on about it, isn't there? Yeah, and we're going to give a bit more.
Okay.
So yeah,
that sounds great. So you've been doing the course. That sounds interesting.
We had a show, only one really, and that's the Northern Shooting Show. Just finished. We caught a monsoon at times on the Saturday. Nice weather on a Sunday. It's up in Harrogate in Yorkshire, which is just a beautiful place to visit.
It is lovely, Harrogate,
It's just really nice. And we always have a good time up there. We always try and do something different every year to try and break it up a bit. We had the Cornwall Red Squirrel group, or Squirrel Project, came up and ran the ranges and gathered monies for their charity, which is the introduction of red squirrels into Cornwall.
So I presume it was obviously the show. I didn't get to the show because obviously you'll probably find out in a minute what I've been up to.
Yeah.
But I presume it was well presented for air gunners, was it?
It's always a good show for air gunners. It's been getting bigger every year. It's a nice show. It's not the biggest show by any means, but it is up north, and that helps even out, which seems to be a lot of shows in the south or the Midlands. So this is one right up in Harrogate, so that attracts a different audience. It's a lovely piece of land, so it's nice looking out over trees and dales and all the rest of it. And you get to meet your friends in the industry, and we all get on really well together. As much as people might be surprised that we're all in it together, We had a good laugh with Claire. Let him down the world balloon. I have a picture on that. I might put that up.
Okay, cool.
And you know, we met Chris from Via Art. We always have a laugh with him, and everybody else in the industry. So it was nice to see friends, and you only see them at shows or meetings, and usually the meetings have got some other.
It is a question I get asked quite a bit actually, that, which is like, you know, does everybody hate each other in the airgun industry?
Quite,
and especially retailers. You know, everybody thinks that retailers hate each other, and actually, I don't even know where this comes from, because they don't, and everybody seems to get on really well.
It might be a British thing, because you do get a lot more competition, although generally everybody behaves the same usually, but when we're at shows and stuff, I mean, you know, I've been on stands and air arms have wandered over with a coffee for me because, you know, you might need this. Yeah. No, but I mean, it's a sort of nice touch, isn't it? And nobody would ever badmouth anybody else's product, because firstly, that's amateurish, and secondly, it's bad manners. But also, you appreciate that they're in the same boat as you are.
Yeah, all working together.
Thing. Well,
yeah.
So
there is
so
a
we get on
camaraderie.
well. We get on well with them. It's nice to see them. Of course, known them for years, which helps. And so that was good. But the Cornwall Squirrel thing, they were nice. They had a nice bunch of people as well, and they're doing a really good job. And maybe we can do a feature on Cornwall Squirrel.
If you guys want to see it, so can you let us know?
And if you are interested, we'll do a feature on it and cover out what we're doing, because we've been following that for quite a few years now. We've been supporting the Penrith Red Squirrel group. We've got the Staffordshire Red Squirrel project coming on stream at the moment. They probably don't want me to talk about it too much because it's early days.
Right.
But that's the reintroduction of red squirrels into Staffordshire. Now, all this is good for air guns, because how do you introduce red squirrels? Unfortunately, you have to trap and kill grey squirrels, because they don't mix. The squirrel pox virus gets into from the greys, which are immune to it, carriers. They get into the reds, and it just kills off the population. There's also massive tree damage done by grey squirrels on native British trees, because they are native to America, where the tree are different. So the trees are, you know, at one with the greys, but when you bring the bigger grey into British trees, it does strip out the top branches and destroy the trees. So you can only then plant trees which are, you know, grey squirrel compatible.
More resilient.
Yeah, and that limits the amount of local native trees, which limits native animals and birds, and you have this ecological disaster. So it's a two-way thing. It's getting rid of the greys to introduce reds, and at the same time helping out the domestic wildlife population. Something I like doing. So, and it involves air guns. It involves trapping, shooting, getting out in the countryside. In some beautiful places. I mean, Cumbria, Cornwall, and Cannock Chase. You couldn't think of three better places in England to be actually wandering around with a rifle. So I've been involved in supporting that as best we can. And at this last show, we had the three of them there on the range, and they did a cracking job. And they ran because they're all shooters, so they really know what they're talking about. You know, they're shooting daily out there, so they know what they're doing, and they're taking people and taking kids through.
Yeah, good.
So that was fantastic.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Did you see anything? Was there anything new at the show in air guns?
There was not really, because it's the wrong time of year. I mean, most of what we had and everybody else had been launched at other shows. So although it was perhaps the first time it had been shown in the UK, there was nothing I saw that was new. Anything I could see which was new. It was all stuff from IWA and SHOT Show. And although not everybody has a chance to go to those shows, they've read about it and seen it online. Sometimes, in fact, I do quite a lot of research now just by watching the show reports, because you miss stuff when you're wandering around. But the show reports, they do a good job. So I watch the various talents' show reports and catch my information that way, and that's what everybody else does. So nothing really new.
I did get a couple of comments from customers who've come in afterwards and sort of said, well, there wasn't an awful lot of bargains there. And this is something that's developed over the last couple of years. I remember we were doing shows many years ago, and there was a lot of discounting going on. So
but a different time, different world. And the thing about it is that I can been around a little while, and I can remember back in sort of the late 70s, early 80s doing these shows, and they were trestle tables with stuff piled high, cheapish stuff, and usually you got bargains because it was the profession of the people who went around. They were doing this, one weekend or something like that. And obviously no air gun control whatsoever. If you wanted to put air guns, spring air gun, £50, £30 air gun on the table and sell a few, you could. Scopes, no problem at all. No silencer problems, nothing. It was all completely open. and it was mixed in with a community of people who wanted to go to shows to buy bargains. And that's changed, hasn't it?
Yeah, dramatically. I mean, the first thing you've got is don't worry, guys. I'm not going to be playing my little violin here as a retailer, but margins have shrunk over the years, and in some cases fairly dramatically. So not only have you got a smaller profit margin, I think people will be quite surprised at our profit margins. You know, everybody sort of thinks that everybody's earning 100%, you know, they're doubling up on everything. If that would be in people's dreams.
And we've covered this before, it's around 20, 30 sometimes, some products 40, but mostly it's around...
I think the average for the gun trade now is around about the 25 to 27% margin. Some stuff, some popular stuff, some expensive stuff that comes in from Europe is less than 20. And for example, if people wonder why you can't get a cheap Steyr anywhere, the margin on those is around about 12 to 15% now, which is pretty poor.
And it used to be that 10 when you couldn't. I mean, the computer industry used to survive on 10, probably still does, and it's almost impossible. You have to shift a lot of boxes.
Yeah, I was going to say
you've got your overheads, lighting, heating, staff, and you have to make a profit out of that as well. So you've got all that going on. So we are sound like we've got the world's smallest violin here, doesn't it? But if you take that and then you add in the cost of the show,
then the extra cost of the professional setup, everything's got to look
you've got to
great.
do it. You've got to look right, otherwise you look like a pig in a poke. So you've got to have a stand equipment. Could cost. I mean, some of the stand equipment there was, upwards of, maybe 100,000 for some of those stands. Just at this little show, most of the stands were probably cost of around 50,000. And then you've got the cost of if you own it, that is. If you don't, you're renting it. You've got to pay for the setup, the rental, the movement in, the movement out. You've got your staff to pay for.
So when you say the cost of the stand, you're talking about actually the physical...
Oh, the physical stand. Then there's the ground rent for the stand.
I was going to say, because there's
rent. The
smallest
stand at any show is around 2,500. You know, I can remember Western Park costing us $250 for the weekend. That's not that now by a long way. And of course, all the shows are quite expensive. So you've got that ground rent, you've got your display equipment, then your staffing costs, and then there's the really big one for retailers. Not so much for manufacturers. The big one for retailers is your busiest day of the week is Saturday. What day do you need to be closed to run a show?
Saturday.
Or you're going to leave stock in two places. You can't. Your key staff, that's the people who know what they're doing, what they're selling. They have to go to the show. So do you leave nobody at the shop, or do you bring somebody in for your busiest day? Very difficult.
We made a decision a couple of years ago that we felt that our customers that come to the shop with the number one, they're the most important, and we felt that like closing the shop Saturday would cause a lot of inconvenience to customers. Even like little things like we might do 10, 15 bottle fills on a Saturday. Well, if we're closed, those people are going to struggle to get the bottles filled, so hence
and they might learn to go somewhere else.
And it's just having a bit of respect for your local customers as well, which again is something that I might hopefully I'll drop on in a minute, because obviously we've had some changes in the shop as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, because I haven't really had a chance to talk to you much recently, and I know that
No, I think we've both been really busy. Okay, so we've decided our shop. If nobody knows, I own Blackpool Air Rifles, and we have been doing mail order for many years. But also as well, my staff have been with me a long time. And we're very loyal to each other, really.
Yes.
And I noticed recently that people get ill, and they want more time with the families. In fact, as you get older, you tend to find that time is a damn sight more important than money. It's a lesson that you need to learn.
Yes.
And I've noticed that my staff were you could tell that they want more time off. And they wanted to go shooting as well, which is, I know it sounds really weird, but we even after 30 years we still shoot.
I enjoy it more now than I did earlier on, but I get less chance to do it, and that's exactly the same.
That's the problem, and I've had very little chance to shoot. And Andy, who works for me, he's a firearms shooter as well, and an air rifle shooter. He's never got the time. So we decided that it was important that we wanted to look after our local customers. It was important that I looked after my staff, but also as well, we've been talking a lot. I know this sounds really weird from a retailer, but we've been we do talk a lot about the way that the industry works and the way that smaller gun dealers work and how people should support the local dealers, because you know most people have got a small retailer in every town that's probably struggling to fight against the big boys. You know, the margins are low because they can only buy small quantities, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So we actually came to the conclusion that we wanted to we completely change the running of the shop. So we decided we're not doing mail order anymore unless it's products that we import ourselves. So you know the Ed guns and the Mark III chronographs and the LMBR chronographs, so stuff like that you can't get from anywhere else. We're going to carry on mail order, but we want people to support the local gun shop because once they're lost, that's it. You know,
That's exactly it.
So if you want a tin of pellets, you know that we were sending that mail order. It'd be great, you know, if people could go to the local dealers and start supporting them a little bit more, and I think that would help. We've cut down the number of hours. We've cut down the number of staff as well, purely because we you know there was a core of staff that really enjoyed working there, and there were some staff that weren't quite as bothered or maybe didn't really like retail because retail isn't as easy as some people think. You're either cut out for it or you're not.
Well, I get in front of the general public every other week or maybe once a month, you know, and at a show. So it's probably 20 times a year. That's it. You know? But if you're in it every single day, most people in the gun customers are relatively polite, but you get people coming in who don't know, and they sort of think they can treat you like you're a dog, so you get that as well.
Do you know what, we tend to, in fact I would say a massive majority of our customers are absolutely fantastic, and do you know what, I just want to shout out to people now because they've been really supportive of our decisions.
I get everybody on the phone. You get somebody on the phone who's got been on about something or other, and they're just so rude, and you think, you don't need to speak to people like that. But of course they're used to it with the gas company and the electric company and the water company who treat them badly, so they think that they've got an obligation to be obnoxious. But most people in the gun industry, they're overly polite, aren't they? Because they want to show that they're a good person.
But it's funny because despite no matter how good your customers are, it's amazing that some people do struggle with the entire principle of retail and how because I'm not saying it's not bad, it just can be, some people find it exhausting. Some people find answering the same questions over and over again exhausting and frustrating. Some people think they enjoy retail and then when they do it they realise that they're just not people. So anyway, so we've gone down to a core amount of staff, which is 3 of us, me, Andy and Sean. It's been absolutely fantastic over the last couple of weeks.
You've redone the shop, haven't you?
Yeah, the shop's been. There's been a lot.
Can we have a picture, Andrea? Can we put one up? Back there? Is that right? Or over there? Somewhere. But you know what the nice thing is that we've had a lot of customers who've come back to us and said, like, you guys were stressed out, you were running around like idiots, and now we've got the time to deal with people properly. We're not having to worry about doing mail order in the background, so we can focus our efforts. And also as well, it's been really nice for my staff because they've really enjoyed the experience, the change in pace. Yes.
And I'm not saying that we're all sat around doing nothing, because if anybody's ever been in my shop, that you'll know we're reasonably busy.
It's mad.
But you know what? Over the last couple of weeks, it's been great because you've just had the time to talk to people again, without worrying about time issues to a certain degree. And you know what, our customers have picked up on it and they've really appreciated it. So actually it's been a really positive feedback loop for us, and we're going to carry on with this principle. And it is, we've had 1 or 2 people saying cutting out mail order is suicide, because a shop in Blackpool, gun shops in Blackpool historically have really struggled, but I think that we've got a loyal enough, decent customer base now.
How long have you been open now?
34 years, I think.
You've known, aren't you?
And it's good because as long as we carry on treating our customers right,
yes,
I think it'll be okay. So that's been a massive change for me over the last month.
Right.
And
so what, we need people. Usually it's a 25-mile radius, isn't it? That's the. I think you'd probably go a bit further than that. But
well, we do some stuff that a lot of other people don't do.
Yeah.
We import stuff, and I think that helps as well. Like I said, the egg gun stuff has been really popular recently. And actually, if you stick around, guys, and you watch, I don't even know when we're going to get around to it, but we've got the AGT stuff. We've got the Vulcan 2s. and the Uragans on the show that we've just taken on as well.
And we also have dozens of
Oh,
rifles.
Lord,
This is just like, it took nearly half a day to bring all the rifles in for this show.
I can't believe we're going to get them all into like 3 shows.
Well, we'll have to run them through like a conveyor belt.
Oh, just as a funny thing as well, just to let everybody know, when you see a show and Tony is wearing his Star Trek uniform, and then the next week you see him wearing his Star Trek uniform again, and the week after, it's not because Tony never washes, and it's the same with
only
me.
has one jumper.
Or only has one jumper. We actually we sometimes record 3 shows on one day, so actually. It's not he needs to. I know there's been some really funny comments about Tony. For God's sake, do you ever wash your jumper?
Well, I've got to say that other one, which actually matched my new car, so I was wearing that for a joke. But I looked at it on God, that's yellow. It wasn't. It's not really yellow. It's gold. But I was wearing that jumper, and I thought I do look like Captain Kirk.
Well, at least the yellow ones are the ones that come back.
Well, I was going to wear a red. It hadn't been so hot today. I was going to wear a red one and like be a casualty. But,
and some pointy ears. Also, as well, there's been a very common thread by certain people in the comments, and we do read all the comments. Actually, thank you very much. But there's been some comments about the custom carbon silencer. And I actually got to the point I thought, do you know what? I won't announce it because just to wind people up. But we think we better announce it.
And but by the way, all the handbooks, all the 40th handbooks, they've all gone out.
Excellent.
They've all gone out. Yeah.
Excellent.
How's your silencer doing, Lloyd?
Well, anyway, look, the winner. Well, I was going to have a drum roll and trumpets, but anyway, as usual.
No sound effects.
No sound effects. No more sound effects ever. Jonathan Barnes actually came up with the name that Steve from Custom Carbon liked the best, which was the Wraith silencer. So, Jonathan Barnes, thank you very much for your suggestion. Thank you everybody for suggesting, because there was loads of fantastic ones.
I was looking through and thinking, I wish I thought of that. I wish I thought that. There were some really good ones.
So honestly, we really enjoyed reading your comments. But it ultimately was Steve from Custom Carbon who made the decision, and he actually loved the Wraith one, so that's it. It's the Wraith silencer. Jonathan, if you want to get in touch with us, obviously we'll take care of your prize and get it sent to you as soon as possible. And thank God for that's over with, because like honestly, I couldn't have read any more comments in the section about like what the hell are you playing at?
12 months late, nothing major.
No, that's not unusual. Okay, so what we're going to do is I think we'll have a quick break for a brew.
Yep.
And just to let you know what we're going to, well, we don't really know exactly how it's going to work.
No, we haven't worked it out, but it'll be a surprise.
We've got loads of Virac, so I'm going to probably talk a little bit about the history of Virac.
I'm going to balance that with a true British flurry of British-made guns.
Yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about BSA as well, because BSA came to visit me last week, which was an interesting conversation and a good conversation actually. We've also got, like I said, we've got the AGT stuff to come, which I'm really excited about, because I've been shooting one of the Vulcan 2s and I'm just completely in love with it. And for anybody that says, oh my god, they're all going to be expensive guns, unfortunately over the last sort of month or so, the only thing that we've had new in the shop really has been the AGTs, and they are expensive, so I'm sorry. If somebody offers us some really fantastic,
but we've got some
guns,
good second-hand stuff to show you, which is relatively
you've got.
I've got a load of stuff down there. Let's not give it all away. See what they see.
Right, well, hang around, guys, and thanks for watching episode 1 of whatever it's going to be.
26.
See you soon.
Yeah.